Let's talk a bit about some movies, right? So, two of which I have yet to see, because I just kind of waited for clean copies. I mean, just saying, because it was so close. I'm sorry, but yeah, Ricardo, you beat me to the chase though. So you saw Old and
Right.
Green Knight. So if
Wow.
you don't mind, you could just do, you know, a spoiler-free review of each one, please.
Right. Sure. Yeah. All right. So we'll start with old. Um. I thought I would have hated this more because I was going in expecting to hate it because it's M Night Shyamalan, and let's all say it together. Glass was ass, right? Glass was one of the biggest
Yes, it was
disappointments.
one of the worst
Yeah,
movies of the decade.
yeah, one of the biggest disappointments in a hot minute. Like for me, Glass was about as disappointing, or not as disappointing, but almost as disappointing as Batman v Superman. It's like it's that bad for me.
Right,
And I
right.
just went in with the lowest of expectations for this, and this wasn't the worst thing ever. It has a decent enough premise. I thought it was reasonably well shot and competent. I like a lot of the acting, where they do it in terms of the central conceit of it and the reveals was pretty cool and interesting. It does a big. The twist at the end is kind of lame, right? But it's not the worst idea ever. And all I'll say is that it deserves to do. It deserves a way called a punch up. That's all it needs. If it had a good punch up, it could have worked a little better because I felt the filmmaking was strong behind it, right? It wasn't like Glass where it felt lazy and then the story was bullshit. Is that, well, the story, it was decent. The story is just meh. Not the worst thing ever, just meh. And kind of generally kind of forgettable, to be honest, because when they reveal what's going on, it's like, it's a cool idea, kind of. But it needed better execution in terms of the scripting. Um don't need to explain too much more about it, but I'll say not the worst thing ever. I'm gonna give it a much higher score. I'm sure with time I'll probably hate on it more. But right now, it gets a 5 out of 10. Right?
Okay, okay, okay.
That's way higher than I expected to give this film because I was expecting a 3 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, like with Glass or something like that. Um, that's it. Like you have nothing else to say. Like it's just it's about this family. They're on the beach. The beach makes them old, and you find out why. But the beach making them old is like just the surface layer of it. And then when they reveal what going on with the beach and who knows what about the beach and why, that's where the story gets interesting. Kind of, but it needed more pacing and it needed better play out and it just needed a better one. You need to punch up a script and that's about it. So that's I'll give it a 5 out of 10. That is my first rating.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Well, just to wrap things up with Old, right? Is it that the work, or I should say the aesthetic of M Night Shyamalan just a little old and played out now? I
no,
mean, like it's just still a place for this guy, you know?
no, no, not really. Like again, he, regardless of what you think about him, he still does fulfill the criterion of what we call the author. Like he does have a clear vision of what he wants in his films. That is really in sparse, in sparse scenarios nowadays. Like you can't get that nowadays, especially in this world where Disney dominates and everything, right? So that was it was refreshing. Like, oh yeah, right. He's a filmmaker who actually knows what he wants. It's just a shame that he can't get a good punch up for his scripting. But yeah, as it is, it was fine. It wasn't like you didn't feel outdated or anything like that. It's just the script needed a good punch up, as I said. That's it.
All right, all right, all right, all right.
Mhm.
And secondly, well, a film in particular that I would love
Yes.
to do a review of when I get the chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my highly anticipated films of the year, The Green Knight.
Yeah. All right. So this is about like, oh, is his name like the son is the son of King Arthur, right? And
Going,
it, yeah,
The
go in,
nephew, is
right.
it?
Sorry, the nephew, I think, right. It's him it's him making the case for, like, it's a famous what do you call it? A famous poem. Never read it. I never read the poem, so I don't know what it actually entails. I heard it's like this 100 page so book or whatever it is. And basically the idea is that he comes back, he he just lives a kind of loose life. And now this degree knight encroaches onto the court and he basically says, look, he gives a challenge. And nobody else wants to do the challenge, and he has to kind of prove himself. And that's basically um Right, the entire conceit, and you have to sort out the challenge of the Green Knight, and that's the problem, right? He has to start from there, and it starts the central quest of what's going on. Basically, Green Knight has to fulfill a bargain, right? So now he has to go and sort out the what the Green Knight performs as a test towards him. That's the story as it is. It's very picturesque. Dev Patel holds it together in terms of the the film, and it's a pure story. It doesn't try to like force you to think about what's going on. I suppose you have to read the original poem to make more sense of the narrative in that sense, because they have giants in this world and a talking fox. Don't know why. It's a medieval fantasy. Just accept it. Alicia Vikander is quite good in this. Joel Edison's quite good in this. They all together. They're pretty good. And yeah, it works as it is. As a rating, yeah, give it. It's a typical A24 arty film that you can enjoy. I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it for what it was, mostly because just pure visuals. I didn't
Right.
understand. I'll admit I didn't understand a lick of it because I didn't have a working context of the original poem. So I don't know what to look for, read, or think about narrative wise. But that's how I see it and as it is, in terms of Arthurian legend. So yeah, 8 out of 10 as it is for now. I'll probably go up a couple points and might even get better. Yeah, if I understand the full context of what's going on.
Right, right. Well, I do hope to see this film one day, and you could expect a review from me on that, right? So, let me talk about Jungle Cruise, right?
Mhm.
Which, yes, Ricardo, I know you didn't want to see. I know you didn't want to see it, but I was curious because I mean, is Dwayne Johnson? I mean, not the biggest fan of The Rock, but you know, what I mean, I like to see him, be in films, right? So whether it's a Fast and Furious film, whether it's a comedy, or whatever it is, and it's not saying that all of his films are great, right? So, still haven't seen Central Intelligence. I've forgotten Skyscraper right after reviewing it.
Oh
You know what I
God,
mean?
no!
So
Forget that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? There's hits and misses, but I'm the type of person who's like, all right, well, this one could be a hit, man. So you'll see where it is, right? This is based off the theme park attraction of the same name, well, the Disney theme park attraction. I am not familiar with this at all because I've never been to Disney World, and I can't
Me.
remember the last time when they had, whatever, watched the. Remember back in, in Christmas Day, on Christmas Day, you used to have the Disney, the Christmas Day parade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 like I
yeah.
Yeah.
remember I used to watch that religiously
Christmas
when
Day,
I
New
was a kid.
Year's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I
You see
just
all the
kind of stopped.
floats.
Yeah, like it was so cool and it was so great to just see Disney feel. But
Yeah.
anyway, so similar to stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean and and to a lesser extent Tomorrowland and the Haunted Mansion. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is another film that's based off of a team partner. So you just kind of look at it like, all right, this is one of those, old timey adventure films. But the one film that really like what was that I was I instantly was reminded of was a little film called The African Queen, right, which featured Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn, right, and it was
Right.
that same kind of thing where you have the skipper, right, and he's all about taking people on this boat and all that kind of stuff, right, and then you have this woman who comes in and kind of puts him in his place every so often, and it's too much for him. But eventually they're gonna fall in love and go through a bunch of shenanigans, right? And that pretty much is what happens here in this movie, right? But
Mhm.
as you know, it's Disney. They have to put some fancy stuff in it, right? And that's where for me, no, I was picking up a lot of mummy vibes from it, right? Because, well, if you don't mind, Alice, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
just do it like a synopsis of it. Sorry. Yeah, it incorporates, magic and stuff like that, right? Mysticism and stuff like that. So it's not just an adventure set in the Amazon River, but it's magic stuff and curses and all that good stuff that you'd expect from a Disney product, right? So Alice, take it away. What is Jungle Cruise about?
Well, like you said, it is based off an amusement park at Disney, but they have developed this story into looking for the Tears of the Moon, which is basically a petal from a tree. But you need a specific piece of artifact called an arrowhead in order to get access to this mystical tree that's in the deepest, darkest part of the Amazon where nobody has dared to go. And also you have some cursed conquistadors who tried and failed over 400 years ago to try and get the tears of the moon, and they become cursed and they're trapped there on the river for like 400 years. Um, and the at the opening of the show, they have the heroine who at that time in England, that was like 2 years into the Great War. She basically is the only one out of a whole bunch of stuffy old men that wants to go after the tears of the moon in order to change the tide of the war per se. And then the adventure starts.
Right, right, right. All right. So, Alice, what were your thoughts on the Jungle Cruise?
Well, to be honest with you, Matt, I didn't really go in with any high expectations. Because the last few Disney movies didn't really hit any, big areas for me. They weren't like memorable ones for me. I think the last memorable one for me was really Moana. That really moved me in terms of that.
Wow, that's like way back
A
though. Not
while
way
ago.
way back, but way back though.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite recently, I haven't been very, especially live action movies. I was so looking forward to the Beauty and the Beast, a live action movie, and that one really didn't do anything for me. Neither Aladdin.
I kind of liked it. I kind of liked Beauty and the Beast. I know a lot of people was shitting on it because it's like why would you remake this or whatever. But
I
I
Yeah.
mean, I
felt
have the
personally like
soundtrack,
it
but
put
still.
yeah.
No, I
I
was
just felt
okay
like
with remake the idea of remaking it, but
yeah.
I just thought,
I felt like they put
yeah,
effort into paying proper tribute to it. So
yeah,
I can't hate on them for that. But yeah, go on.
right. Well, so basically, I didn't go into Jungle Cruise expecting anything big, and I'm glad to see that I was extremely surprised at what I saw, because they took, for goodness sake, a ride out of Disney Park, and they made this elaborate script out of it, and they actually use real historical characters, because I don't know if you guys know that a little spoiler here, one of the characters, the main villains I should say, Prince Joachim, that he pronounced it. I don't know if I'm using the correct pronunciation, but he really
Right.
was the last son of Kaiser Wilhelm of
Oh,
Prussia.
okay. Okay.
That is a real person,
Joaquin.
unfortunately.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Joaquin. Yeah.
Joachim, right. He was a real person. He really was the last son of Kaiser Wilhelm of Prussia, and unfortunately, he has a very dark history, because he ended up committing suicide due to his father's failure in World War I. He committed suicide at the age of 29 years old, but they actually turned the character into a bit of a kind of buffoon for the movie. You know
Right. And the guy who they got to play him is Jesse Plemons. Right. And when I
exactly.
see him, I was like, Jesus, this guy again.
Yeah, yeah,
He's like the one actor that I just love to hate.
yeah,
He just
yeah.
plays
He
these
just has
douchey
that face.
characters, right? I just,
Yeah,
He has that face.
but
He had that face.
he
yeah,
has that
man, I just see him
face.
was like, God, boy, you with this too, my God.
I
There
know,
we go.
right? And then we have Jack Whitehall as the brother of Emily Blunt. Um, he's kind of like the unwilling associate of his sister. She's more
Yeah,
like
very familiar, very reminiscent of the I forgot the actor who played the brother to
the brother.
Rachel Weisz's character, the mummy, but it's
Yes,
All I
yes.
technically the
remember
same
is
thing.
like his stage name, which was Jonathan. I can't remember his real name
I
at
can't
all.
remember, but he's actually a pretty famous British actor, and I really can't remember his name because I've seen him in other material. But yeah, it's very reminiscent of the mummy in that aspect, where she gets rejected by these stuffy old men who think that they know everything, and she pushes him to make the appeal in order for her to do the expedition for the Tears of the Moon, to get, and also to get legal access to the artifact that was, I think they discovered it in a place called Albert Falls. And as a woman in those days, you were to be seen and heard, basically. So with that now, the with the story, the conquistador named Aguirre, right? He was actually a real conquistador by the way,
Yes. By the
right?
way, for you Gen Zers out there,
Mhm.
Aguirre, the Wrath of God.
Right,
Ricardo and I know about this.
correct.
One of the
Yeah,
greatest movies ever made. Wuna Herzog. That's still my favorite Wuna film. Y'all watch that, but 'cause it is about that same guy, right? Yeah.
right. It is the same guy. Yes, and that's what makes this a kind of a darker Disney film. Yes, there are a lot of comedic beats, but would you guys agree that it's very dark for a Disney film because it deals a lot with death.
Yeah, I still put Pirates of the Caribbean over this as far as darkness, so because yeah, they go
Hmm.
into some dark territory there. Well, I should say with the creatures and the idea
Correct.
that they're roaming, meaning not dead, they're just dead souls roaming, that kind of vibe,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, you don't have a soul. It's pretty mature content. But I agree with you. Pirates of the Caribbean was a bit darker, but this is what surprised me and made me actually like Jungle Cruise in terms of it felt very Indiana Jones-ish, but with a woman at the helm. And I don't know if it's because I'm a female that I was very much attracted to that a woman was at the helm and she knew what she was doing and she was not portrayed as just a clumsy ditzy character,
Mm,
and
yeah.
I don't
And,
know.
and and who better to play that role than Emily Blunt, right?
And Emily Blunt,
Yeah.
exactly, one of my favorite actresses. And I get what you say about Dwayne Johnson. He really is a hit or miss sometimes because he's not the strongest of actors. You know, it's mostly like use of his brawn and that kind of stuff. But he does have very good comedic timing, which works in this movie, I thought. And he did have very good chemistry with Emily Blunt, surprisingly. So I really, really enjoyed this movie and all aspects of it and the ties to real characters in history.
All right, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Tracy, your thoughts, quick thoughts on Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I have like maybe three notes that I have written on here. First of all, I'm going to remember something that Ron Funches, the comedian Ron Funches, had said once. He said, The Rock is the Beyonce for boys. And I couldn't have agreed more.
What?
He said, because he was saying that. I remember watching that comedy special, and he was saying, The Rock is the Beyonce for boys. And he was making the thing like, if The Rock came and said, he wanted him or his girlfriend, he would say, well, yes, sir, by all means. And I always laughed at the hilarity of that until I sat down and I watched Jungle Cruise, and I was like, yep, yep. There's certain things about Dwayne that is like, there's certain roles that Dwayne gets in that it may not necessarily be 100% nutritional value, but at the same point in time, you are in it because okay, Dwayne is doing a thing, and for me, it's similar like manner that I'm not really keen on all of Beyonce's music. Forgive me, Beehive, but you know, I'm still in it because it's Beyonce. So I went in to see the Jungle Cruise, and for me, it's very much, I have it written on here as Romancing the Stone meets Indiana meets The Mummy meets Pirates, and I kind of
Ooh,
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone. That was a big film.
I
Yeah.
remember sitting down and
Yeah.
watching that, however many years ago with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, yeah.
So it had that vibe because again you have two characters, one who is very, I know what I'm about and why we're here, and the other one who is mainly the skipper, supposed to be like the guide, but is also has their own agenda, and there's going to be a romance at some point in time, but it was still really good to watch, and I particularly was surprised by the third act twist on Frank's character, Frank being Dwayne Johnson. And I mean, I won't go into spoilers about it, but I was like, oh, that's not a bad twist. So all in all, for me, taking in this movie, It's not one of those movies where I simply must like I'm probably not gonna remember it in terms of my ranking or listing at the end of 2021, but it was 100% enjoyable. I love the chemistry between Emily and Dwayne. I thought that they worked well together. I mean, I sent out a tweet that was says, you know what, go ahead and greenlight the second one because I'm sure there is a Jungle Cruise 2 somewhere in the works somewhere. Because of their chemistry, I wouldn't mind sitting down and watching another one of those. And if I could just veer off slightly, one of the things looking at Emily's performance. Now, for me, Emily on the whole can do no wrong. Uh, but looking at it, I feel like this could be, even though she has strong feelings in terms of comic book movies, I think if the right comic book movie comes along, maybe not necessarily as a Sue Storm, but I really could see her in that action adventure world. I haven't figured out what might actually work well for her, but I feel like if they give her the right role, she might actually be involved with it. And given the fact that Dwayne is now Black Adam, if they decide to do a GLA Part 2 or a Black Adam Part 2, he could, maybe rope her in with a role, and that might be interesting. So all in all, for me, the chemistry was great. There were a few parts in it that was just kind of disgusting for me on a slightly different level. I was like, nope, no thanks. Uh, some a friend of mine was saying that he would have liked, instead of necessarily The Rock, that it should have been a Hispanic actor, a Latin actor, given where everything plays in it. And I didn't think about that at the time, but afterwards I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. That being said, I enjoyed watching this movie. I enjoyed sitting down and looking at it. And yeah, I would say it was a fun ride, no pun intended. It was a fun ride, 2 hours or whatever it is like that. That was cool.
All right, so I will close things off, right? So let me just get a few gripes out of the way, right? One, I felt that it was a little too long for its own good because this was like about 2 hours and like 15 minutes, and I felt like there was just it's probably could have just been shaved, like a probably like a 10 minutes could have been shaved off, not 15, but just like 10, because there's points where you could kind of feel the time just that's slipping, but you could just kind of feel the length of the time of the duration of the film, basically, right? Which may not work for some people, like when it comes to adventure based films like this, you expect the runtime to go past 2 hours, right? But for me, there's a couple moments where I was like, all right, yeah, I'm feeling a little sluggish just there, right? Um, Also, and this is kind of weird, so let me try to describe it, right? So, when it comes to movies that are heavily reliant on VFX, right, on visual effects, right, you have to design them or at least have the cinematography be in such a way that you can kind of buy into what you see, right? But I felt that they were, because for the most part, I mean, the visuals were quite impressive, but there were points where it did feel like, yes, I'm watching a computer generated character or an animal or creature, or I'm watching a computer generated background. You know what I mean? So I couldn't help but picture, Emily Blunt and, Dwayne Johnson and other actors in a green room, basically, right? Just doing their lines, right? And I admit, you know what I mean? It did kind of it almost took me out of the show, right? But because of the vibe of the show itself, you kind of have to let slide, right? Because yeah, they're really going for that sort of late 90s, early 2000s, Indiana Jones rip-off, quote unquote, kind of film, right? And that's what they're going for. It's not really meant to be taken too seriously. It's very that it balances the romanticism basically with the sort of swashbuckling adventure, you know what I mean, and just all these like unique characters and all that kind of stuff. But again, just at times the visuals will just kind of come in and just kind of be like, it looks kind of fake, right? Because you kind of want to buy into what you see, even though it's mostly fantastic, right? Um, but I do agree with you guys, though. Yeah, the chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, yeah, was magnetic. It actually worked. I would say if it would for those two actors, this film would just fall apart, right? And you could tell that they were just having a blast, on screen. I do agree with you, or I should say, I agree with your friend Tracy, where yeah, they could have cast a Latin, actor, sorry, to
Yeah.
play Dwayne's role because of a certain reveal. That's what we'll say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like, while the reveal plays out, without spoiling, what I'll say is, yeah, so why does he still sound like The Rock? That's all I was saying. He still sounds like The Rock, right?
You
Regardless,
sound
right?
like an
That's all.
American trying to talk Spanish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's never explained why he clearly talks American, because everybody else is either talking Portuguese or Spanish
Hmm.
or British, right? So to speak, right? Yeah. Other than that though, I
What
really
I can
dug
tell
the
you is that, sorry, the actor who plays Aguirre is actually Venezuelan.
who Edgar Ramirez.
Yes,
All
he's
right,
Venezuelan.
I've never been able to pin where he's from, basically, but I just kind of just assumed that he was, just born in, in some Spanish country. But okay, all right,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
Venezuelan. Yeah.
right.
Is the
Anyway,
only is the only reason I should have make the effort to watch the movie because it references a much greater film. Uh, um,
Aguirre,
Aguirre Ratagor.
yeah, that's Aguirre. I think is timeless, but anyway, but
Right.
yeah, but honestly, that I didn't see coming. I did not see the Aguirre thing or Aguirre character show up at all, right? And what they do with him in the film, from the setup was very Pirates of the Caribbean inspired, as always say. Just mainly the whole idea of character looking for item, but it's cursed, and now must live the rest of his days cursed. That kind of
Right.
vibe there. Well, yeah, so it's very, Pirates of the Caribbean inspired, right?
Right.
As far as the Bobby references go, I mean, not just, the trio of characters that we have, leading the charge, but also the creatures themselves. I mean, they have a very freakish look about them. What I would say though, I would say like when it comes to like the creature design, like it's no Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, right? Which, as you know, is the only Pirates film to win an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. Because yeah, the visuals were great. Like just the design of Davy Jones and his crew, man, like just
Right.
masterful in my opinion, right? But yeah, the idea behind these really like weird characters, well, one point, right? Like one in particular, one actually has snakes, like literal snakes inside of him, and you're thinking, all right, well, this is a Disney movie, like what the hell, right? But they make it work, right? But still, again, it's just suspension of disbelief. There, it's like, oh well, it looks. I don't want to say fake, but it looks artificial. But because of the creature, you can understand. But I just felt like with everything else, it's just like, yeah, it looks kind of fakeish, right? But whatever. Um, I did like the twist and turns in it though. It has this sort of, just free, just fun vibe basically throughout, right? But they do get into some dark moments and some like oh my god moments, right? Which I do appreciate. But it really did remind me a lot of like Pirates of the Caribbean when they'll tell you, oh, it's a family film, watch it. It's for the family, kids can watch that. But yeah, I mean, it have some moments that will legit freak kids out there. You know what I mean? But I guess that's just the fun of movies that based on amusement park rides. I guess you have to have the oh my god those kind of moments. The moments where you kind of scream and you kind of squirm or you block your eyes. I guess I don't know. I never went to the ride, right? But yeah, I'm not gonna say that this is one of the Rock's best performances here, but you could tell because also he produces the film as well. Yeah, I mean he's having fun though, and I really like Emily Blunt's character. I like the fact that they didn't like they could have easily written her as just know it all, and she knows everything because she's a woman, but they play it off very well. It's like no, she's just very well educated and she has her head on the shoulders, and she's strong, right? So it's not like,
Mhm.
oh, this is some kind of woke film. You know what I mean? I know some people just get a little frightened when they see characters like that be independent. But it's like, come on, like we've had, incarnations of characters like this, and not really doing much. But here, I love how strong and resourceful she was, right? And again, it's Emily Blunt, right? We can't go wrong, right? Jack Whitehall, I thought was great as well. I love there's a nice little reveal with him halfway into the film. Uh, what we'll
Yes.
say is that in typical Disney fashion,
Yeah.
they have to hint at it. They can't just
Yeah.
upright
Yeah.
see it, right? But I was like,
Yeah.
well, it's Disney, right? Right?
Disney loves to
Um,
do that yo-yo thing
yo,
with certain
Is like
certain
what
issues.
is the 15th time that they're doing this
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
in
know,
a row?
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's actually like a few articles where it's spoken about the Disney problem when it comes to stuff like that. Because it's either you come out and say this is a thing and we're standing by it and here's how it's going to work, or you just leave it out entirely. Doing this kind of half-hearted dance that Disney does. I mean, it's
Yeah.
2020, whatever year we're in right now. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should have
agreed,
just
agreed.
outright said it.
Yeah. Just Jesse Plemons do. He was just as douchey as I expected him to be, but honestly, I did not know that the whole Prince Joachim character was actually real. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's pre World War One, so he is the typical cliche evil German character, right? He goes around his U-boat and he's tracking down our heroes, all that kind of stuff too. But you could tell that he was having fun with this as well too, and as a whole, you'll have fun with this, right? But to answer Ricardo's question that he probably thinking about, right? Um, you have to be in. I don't want to say you have to be in a mood to watch this, but you have to kind of know what you're getting yourself into, right? If you are the type of person who just kind of feels like these films are played out, we like, oh my gosh, like we have to do another, sort of swashbuckling adventure kind of thing, and it has like the same tropes and all that kind of stuff, right? Like you've seen the Mummy, you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean, so like why should I watch this? Yeah, I guess I don't want to say like if you're like real cynical when it comes to things like that. Yeah, matter of fact, yeah, if you are really cynical about stuff like that, yeah, then you will not enjoy this at all. You'll just find this to be, just kind of played out there, you know what I mean? But as far as just, hey, we just want to make a summer movie, we just want you all to just, well, either watch it in your home or, go to theaters and watch it and have fun for a couple hours, then yeah, it works like that. But in no way is this, a great movie or the best movie of the year. Like, of course not. But as far as, that's like escapist, some of blockbuster filmmaking goes, yeah, it's fine, man. So just to give my
Mhm.
rating here one time, I'll give it a decent 3 out of 5, man. It's alright for what it is. But again, it has to be your cup of tea. Like if you just kind of find these things to be old and played out, then you will not care for this at all, regardless of whether Dwayne Johnson or Emily Blunt is on screen or not, right? But it people like films like this. And I mean, that yeah, from what I hear, it made a ton of money, right? So, props to Disney, right? I personally would love to see a sequel for this. I don't think it'll be the jungle. That's all I'll
Well,
say.
the thing is, they could do a jungle again, but make it if anybody know a movie called Fitzcarraldo, like do some shit like
Oh yes, yes, yes. Which
yeah,
is kind of a spiritual successor to
uh,
Aguirre, right?
exactly
Kids Act
right,
Birds. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Actually, yeah, for real though. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. For all we know, this could be the next Pirates, franchise. Who knows though? But I just hope that just going forward, if they do make a sequel, they just kind of fix the VFX. Like I understand it's escapist fantasy, but we have to kind of buy into what we'll see here. But other than that, I mean, if you're just looking for something fun to watch, with your family, I mean, there will be some moments where you have to kind of block your eyes and whatnot. Then yeah, I mean, check out Jungle Cruise, man.
I will.
Alice.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. No, I was just going to just randomly say, in terms of the sequel things, there's always going to be some thing that the world needs scientifically or in terms of war or something that they're going to need to have prevented, and it's going to be in some backwater place, quote unquote, that they're going to need to go. So there's always like I feel like there's enough room there for them to play with, like at least four movies um,
Yeah.
coming out of this.
Yeah, but let's hope that they're more memorable than the Mummy sequels. Just saying.
Oh
The
yes.
All right.
first Mommy
The
Two was
first
good.
two I could live.
Well,
Yeah,
Mommy
Mommy Two
2
was
was I. It was all
I
right.
thought
Well,
Mommy Two.
I'll confess. I'll confess because
Mommy
good
Two
thing you
was
bring
hot.
up Mommy Returns, right? Because this was the
Yeah,
first time that we saw Dwayne Johnson, the Haku Machete, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that
okay.
was like compared to the first one, it wasn't as good though, but it
right.
was still like mindless fun. Though. That's why I
Yeah,
say
I had a lot of
hopefully
fun
more
with
memorable.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
was
but that
out
but that third
of
one
Mummy
though,
3. No.
That
I
too
did watch
good
Pretty
too.
Woman.
Let's pretend that one didn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how they could do my boy Jet Li that man. How they could do Jet Li that man.
Well, from the
Anyway,
time Rachel Weisz didn't return for that, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
yeah, who they have to
That was
replace
my
again?
Go on.
Maria
Maria
Maria Bello.
something, Maria
Fat
Bello, because
face Maria Bello.
she was on NCIS for about 4 seasons, so that's how I kind of connect both. But yeah, Bello.
Okay. All right. Alice, final thoughts and rating.
I enjoyed it a lot. I will give it a 4 to 5 because, like you said, it's mindless fun. Nothing in it was really like gross or particularly scary to me. I've seen far worse than that as a horror picture lover, but yeah, I'll give it a 4 to 5, and I would watch it again.
Nice. Tracy, final thoughts and rating.
Well, I'll just give you my ratings. I vacillate between 3.5 and 4, so let's go with 4 because it was fun, and I mean, like, I legitimately had a good time. The things for me that was squeamish wasn't necessarily like, the snakes coming out of his face. There were like things like when they explained to you how the drinks were made, and I was like, ugh, stuff like that. So if you saw the movie or when you see the movie, you'll understand where that goes. But yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
All right, cool.